Good afternoon, YouTube and everybody. I thought I'd make just a quick little video. I've kind of had some questions or requests on what laser I use or my laser setup, and just kind of some different stuff about that. I don't use the laser a whole lot on the yards. I just kind of eyeball it. Basically, I just kind of pick a point either on the house or the driveway, work my way out and get the flow. Some of them I've had to use lasers on when there's not much fall, but I've been putting in yards for a little over 19 years now. So I've kind of got to where I can, eyeball and, kind of guesstimate that stuff pretty good, pretty close. But I will use a laser for like building a house pad or digging footings, and especially cutting swells and doing drainage. I mean, if there's a lot of fall in the yard and you're kind of cutting a ditch, you can get away with it. But I guess like my last shot where I had to cut the swell around the house, that one, there really wasn't a whole lot of fall in the 120 or so feet that the swell needed to be. And it's kind of hard to eyeball fall, with that short of fall and that long a distance. You can't really just guess at all that. You kind of you really need the laser. And actually, with what I use, I've got it set up. This is what I started out with. I've bought this laser. It's the Bosch. It's the GRL 250. I bought it at Lowe's, I think about 3 years ago, and I've been really happy with it. It's done great for what I needed to do. It seems to be fairly accurate. I think it's supposed to be accurate up to 1,000 feet, which I've never used it that far away. I think the whole kit, I want to say it was around $700. You get the laser, the stand, the stick, and then this is the receiver it comes with, which this one no longer works. I was digging a crawl space out last fall and it got wet. And then it also has a little remote where you can keep with you. So if you are a long ways away from it, you can turn the laser back on and off and get it to spin quicker, and then you can jump out and check it. And then I guess earlier this year when I bought my excavator, the guy that used to own my excavator, he actually gave me all of his laser equipment, which he used this Rugby 100, which I guess is made by this Lichen. And then this is a receiver that he gave me. He's had this one for 10 or 12 years. And actually you can see the box that took a little bit of a beating because his hired help actually backed over it with his loader while it was in the box. But it still works. I haven't used it in a while because it probably needs batteries. But yeah, looks like it needs battery lights on. And I'm sure this one's a little more, or probably more accurate than that Bosch. But I guess my biggest reason that I don't always bring it with me right now is that it only fits in this box right here. So then you got to take the receiver, the stick, and the stand, so you got to carry all that stuff, and my dump truck's kind of got limited space in it. So for right now, I'll carry the Bosch because it all fits in this big container. This will not fit in there anywhere, so I just carry it separate. Don't know for sure. I've looked it up before. There's one similar to this. And I think when he told me his whole laser setup was like $4,500. But that, I believe, included the laser, the receiver, and then the receiver that goes on the boom of the excavator. With what I was doing in the retaining walls and whatnot, I had to have a laser. So this was one of my first purchases when I went out on my own, was this laser, because I had I think I had a driveway or a house pad or something coming up. So I went and got this, and I've had great luck with it. And I just, like I said, I happened to luck out when I bought the excavator. He gave me all of his old laser stuff because he bought it all new. And we'll walk over and see. This is the receiver that goes on the boom right here, the Depth Master 200, which I've used a few times, but now the charger that came with this got a short or something in it, and if it doesn't hold it just right, it doesn't charge it. But I tried to mess with it this afternoon and I couldn't even get the light to come on, so now I may have to look at, I don't think you can just buy a charger. I think you got to get the whole new receiver, and I thought he told me that one was $1,200 or $1,400 just for that receiver. Like, I've used it 2 or 3 times and it works great. I had 3 house footings in a row, and you got to reset it every time. But you would kick your laser on and get your benchmark that you're looking for, and then you get this thing set, which I'll start it up, and we'll this little spot right here, I'm gonna kind of use these 2 poles as markers, but we'll cut this side out and get this level, like if we're gonna try to come in here and build a pad. Just for an example, I mean, I'll try to do this more. I just didn't have any jobs coming up anytime soon where I was gonna need the laser, and it rained almost all morning or afternoon today, and there really wasn't much to do, so I thought I'd try to make a quick laser video. Fire this laser up, we'll take some shots and see what our elevation is, and then we'll scratch that out, and I'll kind of show you how I do this with the excavator. We'll see if that thing's got enough juice in it to try it, or really we'll turn it on and I'll kind of go through the motions and show you how I set it and get it to read. I know this may not be the best or the most entertaining thing, or maybe easier on a job. I guess I should have, like when I done that swell, maybe explained to you a little bit more in depth on how I was going about that, and I will on the next job that I use this for. I know I got to dig out for a friend of mine's going to build some retaining walls. He can do 2-tiered retaining walls on the side of the hills. I'll definitely be using it for that. But yeah, we'll fire that one up, and I'll kind of show you how I get started with just it and the receiver on the stick to get my benchmark that I want to hit. We'll scratch it out with the excavator and just kind of make a quick, small little level pad right here. Okay, and we'll turn it back on, and you should be able to see this head kind of, yeah, I mean very little. It kind of moved back and forth, and then now it's level, so it'll start spinning, and I usually just kind of crank it up a little bit more. But then which I don't have an external mic. I need to get that, so I apologize. I guess I'll know when I go back and watch this when I edit it, but I'll try to keep coming over here and kind of explaining what I'm doing. I'm working on getting a mic because I know how annoying that is when someone walks over there and they're talking and you can't tell what they're saying. Kick this on. So that'll be my benchmark of the grade that I want it to be. We just kind of picked, for this job, we just picked the lowest corner. But you can see you got to go down a little bit there. This receiver's pretty touchy. There we go, we're right on the money now. So then we'll come over here to this side. It's got to go down, which okay, and somehow we lucked out for simple math. It was at 3.5, and that is 3.5, so we're 6 inches higher. And when you're doing that, it'll actually, the higher the elevation, the lower in the number will be, meaning that there'll be less of the stick because the ground goes uphill. So when it gets down to where you want, the numbers will be higher. Let's say I was going to build like a pad or a garage pad or anything like that, and this is what I want my benchmark, my final grade to be. I want this to be the top of the rock, and then they'll come in there and put their concrete after that. So I do all my 4 corners, and then I'd go back and I'd set it on my benchmark. Back on our benchmark, and it's 3.9.5. Now I want to excavate out my square and get out and double check it, make sure I got it to the 3.9.5, and then I'll check all the 4 corners again. I know that then the pad is level with where I want to get started. So we'll jump on the excavator real quick. We'll scratch that out, and then I'll kind of show you how to use the excavator if the receiver's working properly when you're digging with that. like I said, I don't think it charged up enough earlier. Yeah, it's still the batteries. Like I said, it's just kind of a little mock-up. There's like nowhere to put the camera in this thing where you guys can see. So. But yeah, now you can see that the stick is level, and then you just put that down. I'm trying to do this one-handed. It died. Figures. But anyway, we'll jump out real quick. But anyway, you get the stick, and it'll tell you about it straight up and down. But then that's what I was saying. You curl the bucket all the way back, so you know that's as far back as you can go. Because if you laid it flat, it may be that it's up or down some. But you get your benchmark made, which would be over here. You'd pull up with this, curl it back, get the sticks straight up and down, and it'll tell you. That's what these lights are for. This way's let's have a look at it from here. It's too far in towards you, that's straight up and down, and then that's too far out. But you get that level, and then you'll set it down to where the teeth just barely touch the ground, and you want till your dot is green. And then if you have to, when you get down to that your benchmark depth and the teeth just barely touch it, you may have to actually physically move this. That's why they got this longer stick, in order for it to hit the laser. I've done it before sometimes where it's down here or up there. Most of the time I try to make it where it's kind of in the middle, just where it's easier to get around these lines. But yeah, had this been working properly, it would have been a little easier to explain. Once you get that set up, you can just dig your ditch, and just every so often, before you get ready to track back to start taking some more out of there, I just always check the grade in a couple spots and then back it back up. Like for sewer lines or burying downspouts, it works great because one guy can now do it. You get your laser set up, and you don't actually have to get back out of the cab to check grade. It makes digging footings nice, because you can just stay in the machine the whole time. Once on that first ditch, once you get your depth that you need, you just get that laser synced up, and it'll actually save anywhere between 20 and 40 minutes per job without having, depending on how big the footing and everything is, just to have to jump in and out of the cab, walk over, grab the stick, set down in there. And it eliminates having one other guy with you just checking grade. You can now just basically one person can stay in the machine and do this. So, which makes it, you know, really, especially for me, I don't have anybody else to help me, so that makes it really nice when it's actually charged up and working right. I know this probably isn't the best example, and it's not going to be as entertaining as the other videos, and it's kind of aggravating that none of this stuff is really charged up or working right. Like, I mean, if you're getting into, you know, excavating and dirt work or landscaping where you're going to do walls, or just, you know, anything where you're going to be doing grading, cutting, you know, digging, excavating, I'd highly recommend a laser level. And like I said, I've been really pleased with this Bosch. I mean, the batteries last forever in it. It's held up. It's kind of had, you know, it's been jarred a couple times, but for the money, I mean, like I said, $700 is still kind of, it's a little bit pricey, but it's not terrible compared to, you know, $3,000 and $4,000. And there's some of these lasers that are even more than that. This isn't even as high end as what some of the other stuff is. But so I guess that was an extremely brief overview of kind of what laser equipment I have and some of the things that I have to use it on. I feel like there was probably more. I should have wrote down some of my other ideas that I thought I was going to talk about, but that's kind of the gist of you know, what I use it for. Any kind of stormwater or water drainage or anything around a house where it's kind of questionable. You know, I try to check grade like every 5-10 feet on like swells and waterways, and just so I don't have to worry about it. I'd rather go in there and do it right the first time and be done with it than just try to get it close and then have to come back, because it's always more of a pain when you got to come back that second time and rip out what you've done and straighten it back up. But yeah, like I said, if there's something that I didn't cover or you guys would like to see, just let me know in the comments, and definitely the next time I have an actual job, I'll definitely get it out and kind of go over and better explain what I'm doing. I think you'll be able to see a little bit better, or kind of understand a little more if I was actually on a job site, like around a house, cutting a swell or putting the pad and everything in. We'll pack all this up and call it an evening then.